the question was about the militarization of law enforcement. And there's a really good book about it. I think that what's happening is, you know, when I started in 1978, the fear factor was fairly low. You know, you knew that there was an issue, but it really wasn't that big of a deal. I think what's happened over the years is we've desensitized to the violence. That's kind of the thing. And what's created because of that is people have played kids play video games, and I know that the video game companies don't want to associate street violence to video games, but it does desensitize our kids, and they don't see that death is final. They just don't feel it, they don't see it, and consequently, our society is getting more and more violent. They're becoming more and more vigilante. They're becoming more and more dangerous. And consequently, law enforcement has to take more and more steps to protect themselves. More and more steps to be careful. We don't want to have to bury our brothers. We don't want to have to bury our soldiers, for God's sake. We certainly don't want to bury the law enforcement that we hire and train from within our communities. And so what happens is, we in law enforcement take more and more steps to protect ourselves. The only way we do that is by learning from what the military does in training and research. It's difficult, and we start with, and I'm not talking about driving Humvees on the street or MRAPs or anything else. I'm talking about body armor, how we approach dangerous subjects, how we approach felony stops. What I would encourage you is to look at the fact that law enforcement are just people. We're people. We are just like you. Would you want to go up against some of the individuals we go up against in a routine basis without having the advantage of ballistic armor, ballistic helmets, appropriate firearms? And we have to judge that.
I mean, that's one thing to have your armor.
Right.
It's another thing to have a personnel carrier with an M60 machine gun on top, maybe a cannon coming down.
Well, and maybe so. We don't have anything like that locally. That does not exist locally. There are armored vehicles to allow tactical personnel to get close to a location, so they can drive up. A lot of times it's used for hostage rescue. You saw up at Columbine, they didn't have that kind of vehicle, so what did they do? They commandeered an armored car. They drove the armored car up so that they could extract students and get them out of there. So they could deploy officers up closer to the school.
But I saw some scary things happen in Boston.
Oh yeah.
Running around.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, these were stormtroopers coming in, going house to house, commandeering houses.
Okay.
That's what I'm worried
I get
about
your point.
as law enforcement. As you said, you need to serve us. But if you're out there creating this fear among common citizens, if I get stopped for a traffic ticket, you know, I'm going to have M16s pointing at the car.
I understand. I understand. I would ask that what is the option? Just give me an option.
Well, for no-knock search warrants,
I'd like to ask you a
And
question.
those don't happen as much as people think they do.
but arresting the person when they go out to get groceries instead of this explosive entry no-knock search.
Yeah, I don't know the.
I'd like to ask you a question.
Nationally, it definitely happens more frequently than not, and there's no reason why the person, they have to leave to get groceries.
I think that's an administrative tactic. I don't know, and Brad, you can maybe help me. I don't know that we've done an explosive entry on a no-knock warrant here in better than a decade, maybe 20 years. Can you think of one?
There's been a few. I was a bomb tech for 12 years, and we do have training. The last time I remember, an explosive breach was over on Chestnut Street, and that guy killed his girlfriend, or had her inside those apartments there, and they did an explosive breach on that apartment.
It's a pretty radical tactic. It would not be a tactic that law enforcement would want to deploy at all, unless they absolutely had no other way to make entry. It's not a safe tactic. Even though it's trained, Even though it's possible, it is not, I just don't remember. And I've done a lot of
I know
tactical
they're still
operations.
doing them in Denver.
Yeah, and again,
That's why I'm asking.
yeah, again, you know, I mean, what each different agency does is kind of hard. I can tell you that just locally, it's kind of like red light cameras. We don't like them here. We don't want them here. You know, but they run them down in Phoenix nonstop.